Hey, welcome everyone to the 16th session of Sitecore Headless Development User Group. Today is August 7. We have two wonderful speakers. We start with Robert Watson. He will be talking about tag-based filtering and listening with the headless approach. That's at least how I got your description. Am I right saying that?
Yeah, that's
And
correct.
yeah, and after Robert, we have legendary Anton Tishchenko, who will be presenting Astro SDK. This time it will be Verticals demo. I know Anton is quite enthusiast of Astro SDK, and from my own investigation, it's quite fast and very effective. So I'm very curious. Without spending extra time, Robert, the stage is yours. Feel free to share, and here we go.
Awesome. All right. Welcome, everyone. So let me go ahead and just start off by sharing my screen. Yeah, I'm here to talk about a few concepts here with XM Cloud developing and common approaches and kind of some pitfalls that I found with developing and how I was able to kind of overcome those. A few of the concepts that I feel are pretty common that are within just normal Sitecore development or even CMS for that matter, are typically like tag-based filtering. You'll see them typically throughout any site that you'll encounter as a developer, along with a common rendering or component that pretty much in my experience that I pretty much had to develop almost every time from developing a site, typically start to finish, an item listing. So I'll go over that and basically how I built that out in XM Cloud and kind of yeah, try to build out that whole headless approach with it. With tag-based filtering, I'm leveraging the out-of-the-box experience accelerator SXA tags. Basically allows you to add on like a tag field to your Sitecore item and then basically put whatever tags that you create to kind of to make some sort of like loose associations with each other and then I'll show you guys a way of how to pull those out or pull items out that way. So I'll start off with kind of like a brief introduction. I've been working with Sitecore for over 11 years now. I started off with building out ATP World Tour as a junior developer and just kind of worked my way up. I currently have a site out called idksitecore.com. So hope the name is somewhat comical, but also memorable. And so I kind of try to hope to mostly create content that will um, not necessarily that is like hard to find or I want to build content basically to kind of describe a little bit of the pitfalls that I've come into or things that have taken me a lot of research or things to figure out. So that way I can publish my findings and help the next developer essentially. So I'm a solutions architect at American Eagle right now, and currently leading a team, Sitecore developers, and working with XM Cloud a little bit. Yeah, that's the this basic intro of who I am. And so I'll kind of go over um, basically what we're going to build, and then kind of go over the whole tagging concept within Sitecore. I already briefly went over it a little bit, but I'll go ahead and go over it a little bit more. And then I'll go over like kind of the architecture and the approach of why I went down this route. Um, and kind of building out like the navigation filter within the item listing. And so I'll kind of show basically the end result of what we want to build and like kind of the way of what I went, the route that I went to kind of um, to get to that end goal. And then also want to bring up a few React concepts within React.js and how those apply to XM Cloud, and basically like state management within it, because I know that can be a little bit tricky, especially um, as like a backend developer, probably coming from like a .NET field mostly, and there can be a lot of kind of concepts I feel that are within React to kind of wrap your mind around, or at least that I found a little bit challenging for me at first to learn and understand, coming from a mostly .NET field. Um, yeah, so basically an item listing, or at least what I consider. It is a loose term, but typically it'll be something that you'll find on a site where it just has like a few items. Nothing big. It's not a huge rendering, but you usually do find it on almost every site that you'll encounter. Maybe you'll have a few like promo items. Um, Probably about half the times it will be manually put into the page by the content author, and they'll typically want it that way. But there are other times where a content author will maybe just say, I want a specific theme or a category, and I want to pull in items from that category, but I kind of want it to be a little bit smart to pull in the latest data or pull in items like that. So that's where I pull in the whole notion of SXA tags. So for an example, let's say you have a few products that you want to display on the page, and you want to tag those products. And the product could have one or many tags that could theoretically be created and then added to those products. And you have a little navigation on your item listing where you want to display those tags on there. And then whenever the user clicks on the name of that tag, then you want to show like the most relevant items specific to that tag. And this could be a common use case for like Sitecore search or for Coveo, but I kind of want to show a different approach to it, to kind of go over some other like Sitecore concepts and the use of more like state management and kind of a more um, just pure Sitecore way of grabbing out those items, if that makes sense. So I will go ahead and show what the end result is at first, and you can definitely tell I'm a backend developer because the styling is awful. But you'll see the tagged item listing that I created here with just a few products, and you can select on a different feature, and different items will come up on this item listing. And again, there's many ways of like kind of how to achieve this goal. And you could theoretically pull in all of the items from those tags right up front, and then store it locally, and then iterate through those items within your state management. I chose a different approach where you kind of have these components within here that are really agnostic of each other. So basically, and this can even be split out more too, and later on, but what I decided to create is I want to create like a little container for this whole item listing. And then you want to have this navigation component because it could theoretically be added or removed. Like there could be a use case where maybe they just don't want that navigation component in there. And maybe they just want to show like the first set of item listings in here. And so basically, the approach that I want to do is you want to add in like a component, but you don't want it to necessarily have knowledge of the other component that it's related to. So, and that's kind of like a really, huge theme within Sitecore is that when you're building out a site purely component-based as opposed to page-based sites or CMSs, you really want these components to be more or less agnostic of each other to kind of create that true separation of concerns. So a good way of, or a good tool that you can use within React is the state management. And there's a bunch of different types of state management and ways of how you can achieve that. Um, One is you can go full-blown state management by using Redux within React, where you essentially just have a store that wraps around the entire site, and you can trigger events to that store. And then there are other components within the site or within that page that essentially listen to those events and do whatever they need to do based off of that event. Um, there's also, you can preserve a state in so called a context or a context provider. So essentially, you kind of create your own context within in any components that exist within that kind of context will only be alerted of events within that context, if that makes sense. So I'll go ahead and show the code and how I achieved that to show how I basically am able to insert this navigation component within here to not have direct knowledge of where it is or what it's essentially aimed to do whenever you click on something like any of these navigation components within here. Are there any questions so far? Okay, cool. I'll move on. So basically, I'll go ahead and show the entire Sitecore side and just show some of the components that I created. And the front end code that I wrote for to achieve this is available on my GitHub. And you can also see the entire blog of everything that I wrote out on my site at idksitecore.com, and you can go to the SXA tags tag listing. It should be one of the top blogs in there that I've written recently. And so I'll just go through the whole coding concept within there. So hopping back over to Sitecore, I created this tagged item listing right here. And I wrote out like a small little GraphQL query for this component. And for those of you who are not familiar with this section of creating a JSON rendering within XM Cloud, as this is kind of, it's a new concept if you haven't written anything with JSS. Um, so you can essentially write out your own query and when that component is essentially being requested, where it's contacting Sitecore and you're basically saying what data that you want to come back. And if you essentially leave that blank, what happens is Sitecore will take the item of the data source and will serialize that through its own processor. And then it will get all of like the fields that you need essentially, and then we'll send that back. But if there's any cases where you need something a little bit more granular, then you'll have to kind of write your own GraphQL query. Like if you want the children of the data source, for an example, or if you want something more, a little more related, like let's say, um, like an item refer, like a link field, something like that, or a multi-list, you'll need to go ahead and write your own GraphQL query. So that's what I went ahead and did. So I'll dive a little bit more into the GraphQL query, but then I want to describe a little bit of the data source that I created. So if I go into the item listing data source, I'm basically saying what tags I want to be available. So you'll see in the demo component, I have the latest bestseller and featured. And essentially that's what I have displayed right here. So it's basically saying that I want a list of these components or a list of items that essentially are tagged with the tags that I put here. So latest bestseller and featured, for an example. Obviously, this can be sorted or however we want it to display on the page. And then I went ahead and I created a field to set the search location. And I'll go ahead and describe how I created that search and everything within there. So, and the title, just kind of common fields that I wrote for this component. And then I went ahead and created some dummy products in here. And within a product, you essentially have your tagging for um, that I set to be able to like tag any of these products that will essentially be picked up from the item listing. Not to say it necessarily will be, but like let's say if I had 20 items that were tagged with latest, only the first three are going to show. Unless we want to, configure in our item listing to have like a view more and kind of paginate that. So I also, in what I described before, I have the navigation component that's separated out from that item listing within there. So essentially, we have two renderings. We have the tagged item listing, and then we have the navigation component, which is going to be put inside of it. So if I head on over to the code in here, I created this little section here called context. And basically that's going to do what I described earlier, where you're kind of creating this kind of container to preserve the context of your state within React to say, okay, only event. So I'm going to fire events theoretically within this container. And I only want only components within this container to listen to those events. So you could theoretically have multiple item listings on the same page and they're not going to interact with each other or they're not going to affect each other in any way because you have that context preserved. So basically what you do to kind of set that up is you have to set up like your little context provider within here. And that context provider is basically that wrapper component that you create within React. And all of the child components go within there. So you create, you use the using context portion of React where you can create whatever TypeScript type you want in there. So you can put whatever fields that are necessary that will be needed to be accessed from any of the components that exist within that provider. So let's say like selected tag for an example. I want to know that within the navigation component, but maybe I want to know that within the um, the actual item listing itself. So you can put that as a field in there. And then you have the set selected tag. So that may be accessed from a child component, meaning the navigation. So like the navigation, whenever something could be clicked on there, you would essentially be contacting the set selected tag within the context provider that it exists. So if I go back to the item listing provider, you essentially are using the context that you created within here as the listing context. And then you are essentially setting up that state within here. So I'm using another, React component within here, the use state, and to be able to set the appropriate tags, and I'm passing that within the provider. And so essentially I'm allowing the child components within there to say, okay, I'm going to use this React hook in here called the use current listing, and I want to grab out that context that I currently exist in, and I need to access a field or maybe the method that I created within my listing provider context. So So if I go ahead and jump to my actual component for the tagged item listing, you'll see that I went ahead and I wrapped it around this item listing provider component that I created. So this will essentially create that context within here. And so I'm passing in the tags that from the tags field that I created in Sitecore and essentially pass that into the provider. And then what the provider will go ahead and do is it will start off by saying, okay, your first tag in this state is the very first tag that you gave me. So in this case, it would be the I think it was bestseller settings or latest. So latest would be essentially the very first tag that gets set into the state. And so if I need to go ahead and pull any of this information out, then you, in any components that exist within that provider, you call this use current listing, which is the custom hook that I made to be able to pull out items from that context. So you can get the selected tag. You can set the next tag, which exists within the navigation component. And then I'll hop on over to there real quick, where you're essentially providing all of these options for the user to click, such as latest, bestseller, and featured in here. And so this component within here, whenever I click on one of these, it will go ahead and call set selected tag within the custom hook. And so that will send that will essentially update the fields within the provider, that listing provider, and then any components that exist within it that are listening to like the selected tag will go ahead and run their logic based off of that. Does that make sense? I know that's kind of like a pretty tricky concept, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me on any of this.
Yeah, it makes sense. So
Cool.
I was following you carefully. For those of the viewers, especially who are viewing that on YouTube, just a reminder that you can pull this code from Robert's GitHub account. It's all available on the GitHub. It's explained on the blog, so you can do that investigation in the comfort of your time. So if you don't understand something. My question actually is slightly detached from the presentation. So I noticed you use on your content editor, if you can switch back there, you use these tabs rather than sections. So is it some custom, how's it called, user script or something?
I was wondering if someone's going to bring that up actually. There's actually an old client of mine who brought that up or who referenced it to me. It's called Sitecore Author
Okay,
Toolbox.
I know that. I didn't just know that it does this job.
Okay, yeah, there's this section in here called tab sections.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, I find that a lot more useful because I had an Optimizely project and I not a big fan of their UI, but they use tabs for getting around in their pages. And I was like, that is so much more convenient. And then so I went to the author toolbox and found that. And I found a lot more useful. And they have a lot of good stuff on here too, honestly. Like if you need to get update like the live URL for an example, then it'll have stuff like that in there too. And just navigating throughout your whole page. But no,
Yeah,
it's a
that's
great,
helpful.
yeah.
Once upon a time, I also had to deal with these sections, annoying, but I approached a different way. I made the custom extension, browser extension also, but all it does is just add it to buttons, expand and collapse. So
Oh, that's
basically, you do collapse and all these never-ending sessions, especially if you use standard values. When you show standard values, it basically won't collapse. So it's quick to navigate. But I prefer your approach better than my own.
Yeah,
So thanks for
it is
sharing.
convenient for sure. Cool. Okay, yeah. So all right. So yeah, glad everyone's on board with it because I know, yeah, that was a little bit tricky for me to wrap my mind around at first, but yeah, so yeah, this is the navigation component, setting the selected tags, and then you can also get the current one, and then set that as active, if you need to, just do any logic essentially. And I want to get over to this like listing items section. So one thing we could have done was I could have created this as a separate component as well for the results. And I'm going to create a blog in the future to do kind of like a similar code base, but doing a Coveo setup within Sitecore, because that was another concept that I went through and kind of want to post my findings on it. But we have these listing items section where essentially we're just displaying the results that come in with the item listing. And based on what the selected tag gets set as, we want to display those results. So basically, I'm grabbing that hook again where I'm just saying, okay, what's the selected tag? And I set that into my use effect and set the selected tag as a dependency to make sure that this will trigger every time that the selected tag changes. So, so basically I'm saying, okay, make sure that the selected tag is actually valid and everything, and then I'm calling my API to go ahead and make that call. And so basically I'll pass in the search criteria. And then once I get the results, I pass it into the set listing items for my state in here. And then within there, I'm just rendering out each of the listing items. So that's basically like the front end part of it and kind of how I wrote that part. For the search item listing part, I went ahead and I'm just going to the implementation. Um, so basically, I use Axios in here, pretty standard library for contacting APIs. And basically, I created an API route on my backend to be able to go ahead and get the relevant information that we need. So within the Axios call. And again, this is for demo purposes. So later on, we could add in like a middleware to make sure that these API calls are valid and everything, and or do some cores checks in there. So within the API call, I'm basically just querying this GraphQL client that I created to get the item listing data. So if I go within here, I'm basically passing in the search request on the back end, and I'm passing it to this GraphQL query that I created. And basically, a little bit of a segue. I created a little bit of a helper function to be able to generate GraphQL queries pretty easily, which is also available on my GitHub that you can pull this repo down and get that information. And I believe I wrote a blog about it as well, where you can actually set up your GraphQL queries within your repository, and you basically kind of have like the typography and essentially like the freedom of the prettier setup to make sure that your GraphQL query is valid. And at the same time, you can execute a script within here to generate that query where it's essentially just grabbing the GraphQL query out and then just creating a little bit of a template to be able to pull that out into TypeScript without having to write in any like custom like TypeScript modules to be able to pull out your GraphQL queries. So you write your GraphQL query in here, and then the result will essentially just be spit out into here. And you could just access it as a constant within your TypeScript. I found it a little handy to be able to pull out queries and everything. So I get this GraphQL client factory that comes in with the Sitecore JSS NPM package, and I'm making that call against that GraphQL query. And essentially it's doing a search to basically say, okay, I need to get something within the SXA tags and the proper path within here. And one thing to note about this sort of method is, and I got to pull up the actual number. I forget what it is at the moment, but there is a threshold on how many calls can be accessed per minute, or I think it's per second, within here, to access the backend search. And so basically, this would theoretically, if you're getting a lot of traffic, this essentially would fail if you're getting a huge traffic load, or if you're getting scraped by too many bots for your site. So my suggested way of getting around that would be to go ahead and cache that call, either I would say probably within here or within the actual client, to go ahead and Vercel has a lot of caching opportunities that you can set within there to make sure you just like essentially just have your results cached. You can probably set it up to every 2 seconds if you really need to, or 30 seconds, or a minute perhaps. And then you can just, or even have some custom cache busing in there, but also make sure that it isn't requested every time the user requests it. Not only for that threshold, but also to make sure it's more performant as well. So that would be my suggested way of getting around that. So yeah, essentially make the backend call, and then it comes back into the tagged item listing, and then it'll populate everything onto the page in there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this kind of concept. I wanted to make sure that I went over the React provider and everything that goes on within there, and preserving that context. It can really be used for a lot of things moving forward too. Like you can go ahead and create more pagination. So you can create a separate pagination component, and then you can set up rendering variants within there to be added. One thing I wanted to add in is the notion of placeholder keys. This and setting those up within your React component. So you set up your, so I set up my placeholder within my item listing provider, and you put in, your placeholder key, and then you can just go ahead into Sitecore, and then you would essentially just create that placeholder setting within here. And then if I go to the tagged item listing, then you can essentially just say, okay, here are the allowed components that exist within here. So if I go into my demo, and I can go ahead, and if the demo guys will let me drag a new component onto here, maybe not, then I would be able to add in a new component onto that page. And then it would only allow me to add in the navigation, because that's the way I set it up as the allow controls within there. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's rendering at the moment, but yeah, so by setting the allow controls, we only control the allowed, or the actual controls that we want within there. Cool. Are there any questions? All right, awesome. So yeah, you can go ahead and head on over and review the blog and everything. You can go ahead and check out my repo in here, and it's called IDK Sitecore Demo, and so it's available at the bottom of my blog in here. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm available on the Sitecore Slack, or yeah, if you just want to, I need to set up my form on my site to be able to contact me. But um, yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message and I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Robert. Any questions? Anyone has questions? I actually have a joke, not a question. So, you know, which is the most popular front-end framework as of today? It's still jQuery. And no wonder jQuery is still popular because it looks at a glance, it looks very complicated. What you demonstrated in jQuery, that would be much easier to do. But that is a joke. Don't follow this. Yeah, I actually like know all this picture, everything you shared from a high level, right? But what you've done is you made a very detailed walkthrough, and thank you very much for doing that. Like
Yeah, of course.
really, it's really good to rewatch the recording and follow one like pieces one for another and understand.
Awesome. I'm happy to help. Like I enjoy exploring these new concepts, and I'm really appreciating the improvements that I feel that Sitecore has done with XM Cloud, as opposed to this XM, from a, I would say most notably from a performance perspective as well. How everything seems a lot more performant, but also the whole headless approach and just kind of having that true more separation of concerns, which I always feel that is a common theme within Sitecore.
Yeah, and that takes away the boundaries. Like
Yeah,
whichever optimization you do, you still have the bottleneck with the legacy way of doing things. And with headless, you don't have this bottleneck at all. And
right.
that's super cool.
I
And
I have question. As you started to talk about performance, as far as I understand, you need to add provider at the top level, on the layout level. So it will be executed for all pages, uh, even for pages where these components are not present. Is there a way to avoid it?
For the item listing provider.
Yes.
I think
So
only with the custom routing, if you set it up only that way, because you have a catch-all route.
yeah, so yeah, it basically, I guess the idea of like setting up a provider like that is to only create it for the necessary components that are going to be within it. So ideally the whole page wouldn't re-render or rehydrate, but the components within it would if should an event trigger, and any affected components within that provider. So that would be so that would be a good use case for maintaining performance for something that doesn't necessarily need to be affected by the whole page, where if you went with something like Redux, that would affect all the components on the page. So if I wanted to trigger an event within there, then that theoretically would rehydrate everything. So yeah, I would say it depends on your use case, but for something like the provider, I would say just try to make it as central as possible to whatever components you're working on and what you wanted to affect, but not have any components within there that don't need to be in there.
Okay, thank you.
Great. We don't have any more questions. Let's move on. And Anton, tell us more about Astra. I was looking forward to it.
Okay.
So verticals. I just played with verticals framework over content SDK. Now it's time to see Astra in action.
Okay. Unfortunately, the main fluffy presenter isn't here, but probably once I start to talk, Cat will come back. Okay, so today I will tell you about Sitecore Astro demo website. And initially I wanted to present it on bigger event on Sitecore Symposium, but unfortunately this presentation was not selected for Sitecore Symposium, so here it is. So today we will talk about Sitecore Astro demo website. Why did we do it? How did we do it? And what results did we achieve compared to traditional Next.js approach? Let me introduce myself. My name is Anton Tishchenko. I'm CTO and co-founder of Sitecore development company named XDST. And I'm already 12 years in Sitecore development, and I started as a Sitecore employee. I was recognized as Sitecore MVP for last 7 years in a row, starting from 2019. And you probably heard about me if you read some articles about Sitecore Industro or about Sitecore MCP server. Now let's start with demo. I will show you Sitecore demo portal. If you haven't seen it before, it is a Sitecore service that allows you to run custom and not custom and default Sitecore demos. It's usually used by Sitecore sales and Sitecore partners to show Sitecore products. In my case, I will deploy custom demo for XM Cloud. So I will select XM Cloud, the latest one, Verticals demo, and let me name it Verticals, and let it be today's timestamp. And I want to run custom demo, so I need to use my own GitHub repository. You can see that you can add different teams, different companies to Sitecore demo portal. I will use my account where I have verticals repository, and I will select main branch. The next step, as it is custom demo, I need to configure Vercel. And for Vercel, you can see that I need to add token. As it's online and it will be on recording, I don't want to share tokens. That's why I will move it to another screen for a second, create my own token, select 1-day expiration. It will be enough for my demo. Apply it back, validate, and now I'm able to back to main screen, and you can see that Vercel was configured. Another configuration that should be done, it is type of project that should be deployed on Vercel. It is configured using environment variables. So I need to add a Vercel project framework variable, and it should have value Astro. The default is, as you probably guess, Next.js. Now everything is ready. I can click next. Here are options. It's when this demo should be turned off, and I will hide my screen for one more second because summary page contains Vercel token as well. So I'm on summary page. I clicked deploy, and now you can see that deployment is in progress. It's usually quite fast. It takes from 15 to 20 minutes to deploy. So we will see results at the end of this presentation. And meanwhile, let me back to presentation itself. And firstly, small refresher about Astro SDK. Astro SDK for Sitecore was released quite a long time ago. It was released in October 2023, and I already presented Astro SDK on Sitecore user group Latin America, and my colleague Vasil Gavriluk presented it on SACCON 2024. That's why I will not repeat myself here. If you want to learn more about Astro SDK for Sitecore, please watch this presentation. But in order to remind you about Astro and why it could be good together with Sitecore, I will make some small recap. So the key advantages of Astro are speed, UI agnostics, island architecture, easiness to use, and content focused. How do they achieve it? Please review presentations mentioned before. And the main thing for us here today is that Astro is content focused. And what else is content focused? Right, it's Sitecore. That's why Astro and Sitecore could be the perfect match for your content website. So we created Astro SDK quite a long time ago, and it's feature equal, and it's much more faster than Next.js. But it didn't get big popularity. So we decided that we need to improve awareness and easiness to try. That's why we decided to build the Astro demo website. And fortunately for us, Sitecore demo portal has ability to run custom demos. That's why we took official Next.js verticals demo and decided to migrate it on Astro. We decided not to reinvent something new, some new demo with new components. We decided to take the existing one, because in this way we will be able to compare Next.js website with Astro website one-to-one. And how we were working on it. We divided our work into different stages. The first stage was getting read from Next.js. Astro is UI agnostic, and it allows you to work with different UI frameworks. That's why we were able to get read from Next.js, replace it with Astro, but leave all React components as is. And on the first stage, there was only a layout that was written on Astro. Everything else, all other components, they were React-based. And even after this change, we already had a website that was a little bit faster than Next.js demo. But we didn't stop on it. We took all React components one by one and migrated them from React to Astro. It was done about half a year ago, and at that time we did everything manually. But taking into account modern development of AI, I think it's probably might be done automatically with minimum human interactions. So if you are interested in automated migration from Next.js to Astro, it can be some future presentation. Meanwhile, to component migration, we also worked on continuous integration, continuous deployment changes to make Sitecore demo portal work with Astro. And also, we added middlewares required for multi-language, multi-site, and redirects. Then, once we migrated all components, we had two websites. These two websites, one was on Next.js and second was on Astro. We didn't do any changes in Sitecore items at all. And that was ideal case for us because we were able to automate all testing. And we used Backstop.js to prepare screenshots from Next.js website. And then when we had screenshots of Next.js website, we are able to compare them with Astro one by one. And of course, we had some bugs, but major part of them was related to animations, and we easily fixed it. And once we got two exactly the same pixel perfect websites, we were able to run performance testing. And we used Lighthouse as most popular tool for performance testing. Now let me check how our deployment is going. Everything is good so far. And we can continue with example of component migration. So here you can see usual React component. Here is nothing special. It has three Sitecore fields, image, text, and link. And here is how it looks with Astro. Very similar and actually nothing special. And of course, it's matter of taste, which code you like more. But Astro code usually is a little bit shorter and a little bit more like HTML, not like JSX. But if you are experienced front-end developer, it will be very easy to start with Astro. You need just to watch few videos, and on the next day you will be able to create your own Sitecore Astro components. What was included into Verticals demo and what we migrated? So we migrated everything. Verticals demo contains from multi-site configuration with 3 different websites in 3 different languages. It has 42 components, and some components has rendering variants. You can run it on any version of Sitecore. You can run it on XM, XP, or XM Cloud, but initially it was designed for XM Cloud. You can also host it anywhere. You can host it on Sitecore demo portal, as I showed on the beginning of presentation. You can host it on XM Cloud. You can host it on some on-premise hosting, or you can run it locally in Docker by running 2 commands, init.ps and then up.ps. And front-end part could be hosted in any modern hosting, including Vercel or Netlify. And the total amount of pages is 140. And also we wrote tests, automated UI testing for Backstop.js to make sure that we have identical websites and performance testing scripts based on Lighthouse. Let's move on to feature comparison. If we compare Next.js and Astro as frameworks, they will be different. Some features are present only in Next.js. Some features are present only in Astro. But it makes sense to compare only Next.js features that are used by official Sitecore Verticals demo website. So these features were selected by Sitecore to add them into official demo to promote Sitecore. So I think they included all main things. And you can see that all these features are supported by our Astro implementation. Nothing is missed. Everything is present, including SXA Headless features like rendering variants, partial designs, row or column splitters. Let's move on to performance. So we have 2 exact websites. We are sure that they are exactly the same because we run Backstop.js to compare that they are pixel perfect. And one website is on Next.js. Second website is on Astro. Both websites have 140 pages, and both of them are using the same Sitecore. And we put Astro in exactly the same conditions that are used for Next.js. We use the same hosting, Vercel. We use the same caching strategy. It's ESR with 10 minutes. And we use the same Sitecore instance. It is based on Sitecore demo portal, and Sitecore demo portal is using XM Cloud internally. We are interested in performance for average user. That's why we make warm-up calls for each page before testing it. And performance results for each page with Lighthouse, they couldn't be exactly the same. There is always small difference in 1 or 2 score points. That's why we make 5 tests per page and calculate average results. 5 tests per page are just enough, because if we add more, the average result remains the same, but it adds more time. So that's why we stopped on this number 5 tests. And all this code is available on GitHub. Anyone can run it, anyone can deploy it to Vercel or to any other environment that they like, and run our tests and compare performance by themselves. So, are you ready to see performance results? And here they are. We got plus 15 score only by changing technology from Next.js to Astro. Websites are exactly the same, but the score was changed from 65 to 80. We are not proud of 80 score on Astro, but our goal here wasn't to create the ideal website. Our goal here was to create exactly the same website that we have for Next.js. And we know what could be improved and how it could be improved. But here we have just 2 exactly the same websites. And for identical websites where you can't notice any difference, that's a huge improvement. So let's see the details. Lighthouse score contains from 5 different categories. It's first contentful paint, largest contentful paint, speed index, total blocking time, and cumulative layout shift. And the biggest improvement are in first contentful paint and largest contentful paint. For first contentful paint, we get plus 5 in score. Plus 5 doesn't mean a lot, but if we look on time, it's minus 2 seconds on the first contentful paint. So previously it was 4 seconds for first contentful paint, and now it's just 2 seconds. And we have 2 seconds improvement. So first contentful paint was improved almost in 2 times. Let me grab some water.
Anton, before you go ahead,
Yep.
is this averaged already, right? So it's not like the first request measurement, it's like averaged for the 5.
Yep, that's average, not just for 5. That's average. That's average
5
for
multiple the page numbers, right?
for all pages, for 140 pages, and for each page 5 times. So that's average. Firstly, average for all pages, and then average between pages. So it's
I was just asking to make
pages.
sure it's not ISI effect in this figure.
Now, is affected because so we actually our goal here was to measure performance in browser, not measure server-side performance. And as Next.js was configured to use Vercel ESR, we configured Astro in the same way. If we compare server performance doesn't mean a lot for us because it's the same hosting. What we can measure there, and everyone use caching strategy style while revalidate, and you always will get results from cache, but not from execution with ESR.
It's very significant difference, like 2 seconds twice.
Yeah, it's for mobile. For desktop, it will be smaller, but it is. We also didn't configure Lighthouse in any way. We used the default Lighthouse CLI settings, and by default it's mobile, and that's what we get with it. I'll continue.
Please go on.
And another big improvement, it's largest contentful paint. Here we got +7 in Lighthouse score and -3 seconds in time. And together with speed index improvement, with small improvement on speed index, we got +15 in sorry, I misclicked my presenter window, and together with speed index we got +15 score. That's huge difference, taking into account that the websites are the same and only framework differs, and the visitor will not notice any differences. And now let's look on performance results per page. So here are performance results for one of websites. I think it's financial, and we can see difference for each page for Astro and Next.js demo websites. We can see that all Astro pages are faster than Next.js pages, and improvement score starts from 7 and it increases to 80 score points, and that will give us average result about 15. And the common rule here is that the more complex page is, the bigger is difference. So the more components we put on page, the better, the bigger difference will be between Astro and Next.js. And let's move on. Let's move on to conclusions. So we developed an open source Astro SDK for Sitecore. It enables you to create blazing fast websites. And we also made demo website on Astro. It is a copy of existing latest official demo of Next.js. It's one-to-one. You can check, you can try it, you can use it at starting point. And the Astro demo is much more faster than Next.js demo. And that's why I can say that Astro was, Astro is, and Astro will be the easiest way to get most performant Sitecore website. Now let's back to demo portal. Let's check Sitecore services and financial, because default it's just one basic page. Let's also open Sitecore Launchpad. Here I will need to log in. And let's also open Sitecore Content Editor. So firstly, let's start from services website. So here is homepage. You can see that there is some animation, some parallax effects, carousels, different card components, form, some other components, image banners, testimonials. So it's not a big, but quite
Quite
decent.
saturated. It looks like it's about 30 components or something altogether.
So I'm not sure how many components on this page, but project itself has 42 components. And I think a lot of them are present here. Other pages are not so complex, but they are also decent. And we can change color scheme, we can change language, so it's like regular Sitecore website. Another website is financial. Here we have a slider at the top with video and images, and everything else is similar but a little bit different. Some other components, some other animations, and here we also have different themes and different languages. For example, let me open French website. I think it's automated translation, but it doesn't matter for us. And here also we have different pages. So these websites are not so big, but they are quite decent to measure performance on them. That's not the empty page with some components that doesn't mean anything. This is actually websites that we can compare. And now let me switch to another tab, if I will be able to move zoom controls. Yeah, so let's go to XM Cloud.
Before I
And
go, the question is, what you just showed was already on Astro. That's already Astro.
That's on Astro. We can view page source and we can look for Astro. So here is, for example, we can see that it's Astro. That's how we can identify it. And if we will look for Next.js, there is nothing like this. So it's Astro. Double
Anton,
check.
should I add a couple more questions or leave it to the end? What would be better?
If these questions are related to this part, you better ask it here. So feel free to ask.
So the question is, first of all, like when you compare it to Next.js, you obviously use Next.js with GSS, not Content SDK, which is slower. I think that with the Content SDK, the difference will be a bit less, but according to numbers, it will be like comparable because Content SDK performs almost twice faster. Again, it's by Sitecore metrics, but
I was prepared to this question, and I have slide for it. So Content SDK was just recently released, and for now we don't have any official Sitecore demo where we can compare it.
I have it
And
deployed on my host with Content SDK. It's exactly the same.
okay,
It's exactly the same three websites. But I think it would not be like equal apples to apples because it's on a different data centers. You are based in Europe, I'm based in US, so it's already like difference.
yeah,
Well, it's
so you that's you did this migration of verticals websites. That's not
it's
official.
customly based, yes. Mhm.
That's what I'm talking about. So there is no official Sitecore demo for Sitecore Content SDK, which includes some decent amount of content where we can compare.
The
That's
only
why,
official website which we can compare is this skate park because
yeah,
it exists on both SDK and
it's
Content SDK and GSS.
it's just a basic it's named basic website, and it's just one almost empty page. There is
Yeah, not too much to measure.
not too much to measure. So once Sitecore will release demo, I will be glad to compare. But currently, from what I saw from official Sitecore presentations, Sitecore Content SDK is definitely faster than Sitecore GSS Next.js. But from what I see, it's not twice as fast.
Mm.
That's why I expect that Sitecore GSS Astro still will be faster. But here also we can migrate Astro from GSS to Content SDK at some point. So that's
Yeah. My
let's
final
wait.
question.
Let's wait for official demo. Let's wait for official demo. I
I got one
expect
more
that.
question.
Yeah.
So with Astro SDK, when you made this conversion, does it like HTML perfect output, like tag to tag, everything like style to style?
No,
Not.
it's not HTML perfect output, because there are some additional tags that are added by React components, and some additional tags that are added by Astro components. They are pixel perfect, but they are not HTML perfect. And
Makes sense.
the reason is, for example, for React, there were used some libraries for animation, for example, for this parallax effect,
Mhm.
or for counters. And with Astro, it's just JavaScript. It's just JavaScript that changes the position of image. So that's example why it's not exactly the same HTML. And
That's a good example of why it is faster because it employs less one dependency in this case.
it's faster because of different reasons. One reason is that it's zero JavaScript by default. of course, we added animation and we decreased with this animation maximum perfect score. But if we load this website with disabled JavaScript, we will get about the same, because it doesn't require any hydration, and that's why it is much more faster than Next.js. And also that's related how Next.js works with Sitecore. Next.js, as we have one entry point for all pages, Next.js prepares one big JavaScript bundle that contain all components. And for Astro, we just don't need this JavaScript, because our components, it's HTML, it's not JavaScript. And that's why it's much more faster. Let's move on.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying.
Let's open page interface. For example, let's start from financial website. We can see that everything is still editable. We are able to edit text fields, rich text fields. We are able to change images. We are able to change renderings, remove them, or add new renderings. So all editing capabilities are still in place. We can do anything. And even as you can see, even new Sitecore streams features are present and are available with Astro components as well. Let me also open services website and show that everything is still working there. We can still edit text, we can still edit images, we can edit components, we can switch to different pages, and everything is editable and everything is fast. And let me also open Experience Editor. For example, personal page, because why not? And it loads fast, and you can edit it. So we have all the capabilities of official Sitecore Next.js GSS, but with different framework, which is faster. Now let's after seeing Sitecore demo portal, let's back to presentation. So the last slide is links. Here is QR code. This QR code is to this presentation, as it is hosted as website on Netlify. So you can scan this QR code, open it in browser, scroll to links, and you will be able to open links to GitHub, where is present Sitecore Astro SDK and this verticals Astro demo website. There are also links to presentations on SAGLATAM and SAGCON, which I mentioned before, and there are links to different blog posts related to Astro Vertical's website about process, about running on demo portal, running locally, performance, Next.js Astro component comparison, and feature comparison. And now that's time for questions if you still have. And but before questions from audience, I prepared answers in advance, and on one question I already answered, and the second question, expected question, was about app router.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I was about to ask it. Because Content SDK is about to bring the support.
Yeah. Actually, for now, Sitecore doesn't support Next.js app router. And there are some rumors that it will support at some point. And I expect that it will support at some point. But I do not expect from app router some improvement of performance. Because back in December 2024, I made prototype with where I migrated small website based on a page router on app router. And that was proper migration. That wasn't just marking everything as client components. I rewrote Next.js components implementations for placeholders for different fields, and you can check it. It's also available on GitHub, and I have articles about it. And I compared exactly the same, not like the website that was shown on demo, much more simpler website, but I compared 3 different cases: app router on client components, app router on server components, and the page router. And at that point, I got results that the page router was even faster than app router on server components. That's why I don't expect too much from app router. And if you would like to see a presentation about how I made that prototype on server components, it probably can be another topic for Headless user group.
I invite you straight ahead to become the next speaker with the next topic. Please welcome.
Okay, but
it's lots of curiosity about it.
Cool. I will spend some time to remind myself what I did. And now that's time for another questions from audience. I guess nothing else, or I need to check chat. Was there something in chat? Nothing.
I would add a verdict that Astra SDK has all these performance benefits of Content SDK, but still works in Experience Editor.
Yeah, and Astro SDK, it's based on Sitecore GSS, and currently we look in and probably we will migrate it on the Content SDK as well, because Content SDK it also contains from main library that is universal for any frameworks, and additional libraries for Next.js and React. And we with Astro SDK, we are not heavily rely on Sitecore GSS. We use it only for requests on server side. So if we let me back to view source, and for example here, if we will look here, we even will not find any JavaScript part that's related to Sitecore GSS. Sitecore GSS in Astro SDK is used only on the server side to make requests because there was no point to write wrapper for layout service or dictionary service one more time. It was already present for GSS and it works fine.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I was actually wondering how it all works, and you got it just by an extra layer on top of it.
Yep.
So it's not a question, but just more thinking aloud. This is very good SDK and framework for building sites with like some cloud. Like I see the potential problem, which comes from decision makers. They always want to have something as standard set in stone. So when someone chooses technology today, they're basically driven by, okay, we have this Next.js as the most popular framework. They're probably most of support for it, most of community, most of problems resolved. And they start thinking, okay, Astra is kind of blank. It's only Anton who builds with it, maybe a few other guys. So that looks like a disadvantage. I know outside of Sitecore it has quite a decent community of people. So people are praising it outside of Sitecore. But inside of Sitecore, quite little support. So probably there should be some way how people start using it more actively. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's actually big problem. So here, for example, popularity of Astra, you can see that more and more websites start to use it, and with Sitecore clients, it's a little bit problem because it's enterprise business, and they came to Sitecore, and license includes support, and
Exactly.
Sitecore support only Next.js, React, Vue, Angular officially,
Exactly.
and when you choose between Next.js, React, Vue, and Angular, the choice is obvious. You choose Next.js because for everything else, you will need if you want some static caching, you will need to implement something by yourself. That's why, unfortunately, Astro isn't so popular in Sitecore world. But I still hope for the best because I don't see for many Sitecore websites, they are purely content websites. They are not like web applications. And React or Vue or Angular, first of all, they are frameworks for web applications. And what we actually do, we implement site on Sitecore. We select Next.js and we implement everything on React. We spend additional effort implementing it on React. And then Next.js takes React components and make them static and put them to cache on Vercel. So what's the point? what's the point to implement website with technologies that are designed for applications and then make them static with SSG, ESR caching? It's like extra step that we don't need. And probably we need, if we know that this Sitecore website will be content website, it will not be some kind of application, some booking or some air flight company. That's why there is no point to select frameworks for applications for many Sitecore websites, because a lot of Sitecore websites are content websites. And for content websites, we should select technologies that works better with content websites.
Okay, so thank you very much for presenting at this user group, both to you, Anton and Robert, because I know the time is very late at where you are. So I won't take you any longer. Definitely wish to try Astro.
Yes, thank you, Martin, for having us as guests.
Not the final time, no. I want to see you again. Both you.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you for having these user groups. I think it's the most regular and the most popular user group
Yes.
on YouTube. So
We try to educate folks by having these user groups, all the sessions recorded. So just it's indexed by the titles. Whoever has a problem, they can go and watch, because we share such lovely recipes here, something that you won't ever find anywhere. Plus, we do lots of effort. Not saying we, I mean the community. I personally educate people through LinkedIn, like posting daily XM Cloud tips. So if you are not in my list yet, join me on LinkedIn and you will receive a fresh daily XM Cloud tip about what should you do or maybe what you should not do. And that's
do
it.
you use some automated posting on
No, I do
LinkedIn?
it all manually.
All manual?
Everything is manually, yeah. I created them manually, I wrote them manually, and I post them almost manually.
Yeah, because I see posts too often. Too often. That's
No.
why I asked about automation.
If you notice, they all are posted in a very random time. It's not something that been scheduled. I do post a tip a day. That's my promise. There is also a family of Sitecore Telegram channel I do. So if you use Telegram Messenger, it's something definitely you would like to consider. There is one main channel and more dedicated channel to Sitecore products. Like the one is for XM Cloud, the one is for Headless development. Each channel for each of the product, like CDP with Personalize, Order Cloud, Content Hub, even Connect has a channel on Sitecore Search. So yeah, definitely something you want to navigate. I'm not very much intrusive there, so I do only important posts, very short, very brief, only what you need to know. So I very much encourage to subscribe. With that in mind, I wish you all. Oh yeah, show your friend.
He is fluffy presenter.
I have a fluffy organizer. Here's it. Okay, with that in mind, I wish you all guys good night or good end of the day for those who are based in America. See you next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.